up.
We're not going to do that slow zoom out thing. What's up, y'all? It's about 11 p.m., so can't talk very loud. But so we have 3 episodes that aired. Who is Ben's man on the boat? I hear people going around saying that it's Charlotte. I'm like, what? How can she be his man on the boat when she's standing right there? I don't know, dude. Besides, he shot her in the chest, did he not? A lot of people are saying that it's Michael. And it's one of those things where it seems too obvious that it wouldn't actually be Michael. I mean, if he has a man on the boat, we're assuming that the advantage that he gains by having the man on the boat is that he already knows about the people coming to the island. But why would he need that information? I mean, he can sit here and talk all he wants about Charlotte's past. How does that give him any kind of an advantage now? The only advantage it gives him is shock value, because he could say, "Hey, I know where you went to school," but that doesn't protect him physically. If they wanted to capture him or take him away, he can talk all he wants about that kind of stuff. So, if he has a man on their boat, there must be a better reason than, oh, well, I have a man on their boat, so I know all about you, because he knew they were coming anyway, so, and he couldn't stop Jack from calling them, so why would he have not wanted Jack to call the boat if he already had a man on the boat? Maybe the man on the boat was just like his insurance in case Jack did call. I wish I could think of something more original. The truth to tell, I think it's Michael, just like everybody else does. I think that he made a deal with Michael at the end of Season 2 that we didn't see, and Michael's been working for him ever since. We've seen that Saeed is working for him. We don't know if the other Oceanic 6 are working for him. But now it makes you wonder when Kate says, he'll be wondering where I am, makes you wonder if she's talking about Ben. Now, I'm not saying I want answers right away, but it does seem like they're bringing up subjects twice as often as they need to be. Like, you got Locke over here asking what the smoke monster is. You got Jack talking about the Red Sox game. You got Locke bringing up Walt, and everybody's like, huh? And then it's just like, that's it. But, they could sit down if they wanted to and just have a whole 10-minute conversation about Walt right now, like we do, and that would actually be interesting. They couldn't do that in the show because it wouldn't solve anything. It would just be speculation. Minkowski is not answering his phone. Miles tries to call him at the end of episode 2, and she's like, he can't come to the phone right now. And then when Daniel Faraday tries to call him, Frank tells him to hang up the phone if Minkowski answers. There seems to be like 3 different possibilities for what's going on there. Number 1 is that there's some kind of time discrepancy, which don't even get me started on that. The other 2 options, which I think are actually a lot more realistic, is number 1, that these 4 people who were just dropped off at the island were exiled there the same as everybody else was, because they knew too much. So they were dropped off at the island, and now the freighter's going away, and that's why Minkowski's not answering his phone, because he has no business with them anymore, because he got rid of them like he wanted to, and now he's going away. The other possibility is that Minkowski is actually on his way to the island, and they don't want the 4 people to know that, and that's why he's not answering the phone, because he's not on the freighter anymore. He's coming to the island, or he might already be there. What else is interesting, I was reading on the fuselage, a lot of the Lost episodes start with somebody's eye opening. This episode started, the latest episode, The Economist, started with Saeed's eye, and it never opened. Usually, the eye opens at the beginning of the episode, and his never does. Which I think could be symbolic for him being blind to what's going on or something. I don't know. Now we have this whole mystery of the Oceanic 6, and obviously they're being told not to tell something. It could be that they've only been on the island for 4 months, and yet 4 years have passed in the real world, and that's what they're supposed to keep quiet about. If you were supposed to keep quiet about something like that, why would that cause such emotional turmoil the way it apparently does for Jack? It has to be something bigger than that. As of this last episode, we see Saeed working for Ben off of the island, killing people. It's like, what the heck? The most common theory seems to be that this Matthew Abaddon guy, which, I don't know if I'm just in minority here, but I can't stand when they introduce new characters, and then those new characters are like all that everybody talks about, and everybody's like all interested in them and trying to figure them out. But we haven't even figured out the motives of the characters we do know. So, if I had a chance, I got time to be thinking about some new character and what he's doing there. So that's how I like Matthew Abaddon as a cool character and all, but man, it's like it's not even worth talking about because you have no idea. We haven't figured these guys out in 3 years. You're not going to figure this guy out in 3 weeks. I don't know. Killing is not something you just do for the hell of it. I mean, there has to be a really big reason to do it. And the ends have to justify the means. I mean, if you're trying to protect some information, it better be some darn important information. If you're killing people to keep some information secret, why don't you kill the Oceanic Six? Why did you even let them leave? Well, he didn't let them leave. He didn't want them to leave. But somehow they got off anyway. Obviously, there's something that Ben doesn't want the rest of the world to find out about. And that's why he's sending, we presume that that's why he's got Saeed out here killing all these people. Or it's just people like Elsa and whoever else he's gone off to kill. One other reference that a lot of people never really talk about, I don't think I've even seen it mentioned once, the name Faraday. Actually, and I've seen the movie 100 times, so I remember this name in the back of my head like it's nothing. There's a movie called Flight of the Navigator. Basically what happens is the kid is walking through the woods, and while he's out there, he falls into a ravine. He gets up and climbs out of it. To make a long story short, he finds out that it's 8 years later. His family is all grown up, and his brother is all grown up. And so he's going through the movie trying to figure out what's going on. Well, come to find out that when he fell in the ravine, this ship from outer space came and picked him up, took him away. 8 years passed while he was gone, even though he was only gone for a few hours, so he didn't age. In the movie, the leading scientist who's trying to find out what's going on with that ship, his name is Dr. Faraday. But it does seem to be kind of a Flight of the Navigator / Narnia thing where if you go into this place, you can spend all the time in the world there. When you come back, it's still the same time, or pretty much the same time. Or it might be vice versa. If you leave the island and spend all this time out there and then come back, it's still practically the same time on the island. The thing with the missile, he's talking to Regina on the phone when she fires the missile. She fires the missile and she does this little countdown. She says it's 10 kilometers away, 5 kilometers away, and then it never arrives. And then like sometime later, which we don't know how long that is, but sometime later the missile does arrive. And it has a timer attached to it that's counting up, and it's up to like 3 hours and 12 minutes. And this other timer that Daniel's holding in his hand, apparently he started it at the same time as she started the one on the missile. And the timer that he's holding is only up to 2:30 something. There's like a difference of 31 minutes. Well, what the show is trying to tell us basically is that the show is trying to tell us that 3 hours and 16 minutes passed out here, while 2 hours and 45 minutes passed here. So, to me, well, if time is moving at two different rates there, what you're saying is that it's going kind of like this. Like it starts down here, 3 hours pass, and 2 hours and 45. So if you were to double it, if you were to say 6 hours, let's just, oh my god, how do I do this? Maybe I can use the board. Okay, if we were to say that the missile, that time off of the island, the 3 hours passed off of the island, 2 hours and 45 minutes passed. Why do they have to use such weird numbers, you know? 3:16 passed out here, 2:45 passed inside. So the difference is 31 minutes. What matters is not so much the 31 minutes. What matters is the ratio, which is about 6 to 5 or so, I'm thinking, something like that. I'm sure if you actually did the math, it'd probably come out to a pretty clear ratio, but I'm not sure. I haven't tried that yet. But the point they're trying to make here is not that the difference is 31 minutes. The point they're trying to make is that the ratio is 6 to 5. So in other words, if this missile had taken 6 hours, if this missile had taken twice as long to get there, like 6:32 instead of 3:16, then to get to the island it would have taken twice as long as 2:45 or 5:30, I believe that is. Then the difference would be twice as much, or an hour and 2 minutes in that case. So 31 is not the number we're really looking at so much as it is the ratio. And the ratio would still be 6 to 5, 6:32 to 5:30. It's about the same, but I don't know. And I think that's more the point they were trying to make. Is let's say that it's January 1st, 2008 on the island. It's January 1st, 2008 off the island. 2 days pass on the island. 3 days pass off of the island. So now you're going to say, well, it's January 4th out here and it's January 3rd right here. That's not true. It's still January 4th here, too. It just took less time to get there. So it's still January 4th in both places. They're still both at the same time. It just got there faster on the island, which means the sun came up and went down 3 times on the island. I know that's what people are going to ask. They're going to say, well, wouldn't they notice that the sun came up and went down faster? And of course, this all goes back to my theory about weather simulators. We've seen that, sometimes day and night don't seem to fluctuate quite right. We saw a big example of that in the episode 2 for the Road. when Hurley was out there waiting for Libby, and a whole day went by before he went to ask where she was. I ain't even scratched the surface here, and I've been talking for 20 minutes.